Hello again. I'm going to do an installation video today of the Custom Dynamics red plasma rods, which are these things here. I've done quite a bit already on my pursuit. As you can see, I've already added the Ciro fang lights on the front end and the Ciro spar lights, which are on the trunk. They really look cool, and the machete lights at the bottom of the saddlebags. I love having my bike lit up really well. I also have the Custom Dynamics saddlebag brake and turn lights installed. People are not going to miss this bike, I can tell you that, but you can never have too much lighting. So this is why I'm doing the new plasma rod lighting. I think they're really going to add to it. All right, so let's get started. One of the things I'm not crazy about is having to use bare wiring like this, because then you have to connect them to connectors and all that garbage, which we're going to get into, but kind of slows me down. My Custom Dynamics brake lighting here has this nice little connector on the end already on there, but we're going to have to do a little bit of our own very simple minor electrical work with this. But first, as you can see, I have my saddlebag off the bike, and I'm going to install this on here. I'm gonna have to take these little zip ties out of these connectors here, or attachment points, from the brake light to slip this up underneath there. And then when I've got this attached with the double-sided sticky stuff, I'll be combining this wire, run it with that wire down, and then connect it with these to bundle them all up at the end. So that's what I'm going to do next. All right, if you've never done any of these things before, this tape is pretty hard to separate. I guess it's a good thing, because it means that the adhesive underneath is pretty damn good. So the instructions say to just peel back a little bit, stick it on, and get it kind of positioned where you want it, and then start peeling the red backing from behind there until you get it on. And you want to make sure you don't get it too close to your saddlebag. I got these little covers on here, and you don't want it to get too close, because then this wire here I'm going to run over this. So just kind of give it a little space there before you press it down. So you see I've got it going, and I'm just kind of pulling on this while I keep this straight, and then it will stick to it. And that's what I've got for this setup. You may not have one of these brake lights on there, but you may get one day, so just kind of leave yourself a little extra space there. If you want to have this wire go over, it doesn't really matter, it still goes all the way down, as you can see, and you'll be able to see those lights really well when they glow up, when they glow between the fender and the saddlebag. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of those. And I'm down to the last one, so I'm going to get this little bit clipped off. And there's a nice, neat, keep it nice and neat all the way down. In case you're wondering where all these wires are here, well, this is the main saddlebag light. This one goes to the Custom Dynamics brake lights. This one goes to the Ciro machete light, which is underneath the saddlebag. And then of course we have our new wire, which I now have to work on. So basically, you can see how long these are. I'm probably going to trim this one the same length, because I want to also put a quick disconnect connector on there, which I got from Amazon. Just a little tip, don't buy the one they have at Custom Dynamics. It's like $30, man. You can get these for a package of, I don't know, 6 of them or something for like $6. I mean, it's totally, come out of there, totally unnecessary to spend that kind of money on something that's just 2 wires, right? So do that. I'll put a link in the description on how I got these. So you got basically 2 ends that look like that. So I'm going to put this one on this end, and then the other end will attach to the quick disconnect. Let me find it here. This doohickey here that goes underneath your seat. And you got all these wires because there's other things that you could use this for besides this red plasma rod, but we're only going to need two, actually three of these. One for the negative on each of them. Each side's going to be tied into the negative wire, which I'm assuming is this black one. And then the positive wire, the red one's going to be attached either, I think, to the purple or brown one. I have to look over the instructions again. One of those is for like the left side and one's for the right side of the bike. So, and then the rest of these, we're just going to leave these little whatever they call the tap doohickeys on there, because we're not going to use them. I'm not going to cut them off because I may end up using this for something else one day, who knows. But for now, just leave them on there. So the little soldering butt connectors that I have are not going to work, because I got the ones I have are either too big or too small. This wire is pretty big when compared to the little wires that come off of here. As you can see, they're so freaking tiny, man. I don't know why they do that, but so you can see the difference in size. I mean, it's like big time. So I'm going to use this one here. It still has, you still heat it up, which will melt the ends here, so it seals it up really good, but I'm gonna have to crimp that middle part on the wires, which is fine, it'll work. I like the soldering better, but this one will be fine. So as you can see, it's a 22 to 16 gauge. And I think that's what this wire is here. In fact, that's what it says right there, 16 gauge. And I'm pretty sure these may be 22, I don't know, but they're tiny, but they'll fit though. So that's what we're gonna do next. Custom Dynamics, really, why do you got to use these thin wires, man? Does it really cost that much more to get a little thicker gauge wire? I mean, those things are tiny. Well, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and get them connected. All right, I got those crimped on there really good. Make sure you got the red to red and black to black. And crimp the very ends of that internal metal. And then give your wires a little tug. Make sure that they're really attached good before you go and heat them up, which I'm going to do next with the heat gun. And that's going to seal up these ends right here on both sides. All right, got the heat gun going. Kind of keep rotating it. Don't let it burn. We'll start seeing that pink plastic shrink up. Only problem is these connectors are a little too big for these little tiny wires, so you want to put these connectors on first, crimp them down on those, then do these. But when you heat them up, it's just not going to seal. Those connectors are too big. I'm sorry, a lot of focus. They're too big, so I'm going to tape this up really good with electrical tape so water doesn't get down in there. I might even, you know what, I'm actually going to put some silicone on there, dab it on the ends to keep it from leaking water into it. The end that goes inside underneath the saddlebag for this whole thing, this is going to serve both the left and the right lights. This wire is just not long enough to reach down. Let me show you over here. So it's going to be underneath the saddlebag, I'm sorry, underneath the seat, but it's not going to reach down to where it's going to be plugged behind the panel here. I don't think the wire is long enough, so I'm going to have to add a little bit of wiring to it, which is what I have here. And this is 16 gauge, so it's going to match up with these quick disconnects. And I don't know how long I'm going to use of this wire here. You know, not very much. I don't want a whole lot of excess, but I don't want it to be too short to where I got to redo everything. All right, I decided to go ahead and use these posit connectors. It's just going to be a little bit easier. They're called posit locks, actually, connectors. So what I've done is I cut two lengths of wire that'll go from this harness underneath the seat. One end goes to those wires, and the other end will go to the saddlebag connector, which will be this. So that way I can just quick disconnect these whenever I gotta take the saddlebags off. I gotta take both of the black wires from these wires that I cut, and they're gonna connect to the posit lock connector for this black wire here. They're gonna both be stuffed inside there when I twist the cap on. I really wanted to use those posit connectors, but unfortunately, they're not big enough to stuff both of these black wires into it. it's just not going to fit. So I'm going to attempt to use this really big butt connector with the soldering. They'll fit in there, and then I'll stick that little wire on the other end and hopefully be able to seal all that up. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to. We'll see. All right, so there we go. I've got from the 2 extension wires that I cut that will connect to each end of the saddlebag connector that goes into that connector, if that makes sense. I'm going to be connecting these later because I'm going to be cutting this wire down to get the proper size. I made them a little bit longer than I probably need to, so that way I don't have too much excess. So I'll do this part last. And I got the positive, use a little positive adapters or whatever, connectors. One goes to the brown and one goes to the purple. So the brown wire, it comes off from here, the brown wire comes off of here and it's connected to this positive one. So this wire later on will be connected to the right side plasma wire for that side. And then the purple wire is for the left side. So that connects to this one and that goes to the left side. So again, both negative wires, the black ones, from each wire is connected with this little butt connector that I heated up, and it has a little solder in the middle there, and it kind of melts it all together. So this little tiny wire coming off this adapter, the black one, connected with these 2 inside of there. A little bit of finagling or whatever you call it, but it got it done. So that ain't gonna come out. It's a nice, good connection, I'm sure. Hopefully. We'll see what happens when I plug all this stuff in later. Okay, so I'm working on the other side. Just got this put on. One thing I thought about that I really should have done before sticking these on here was to make sure they work. I mean, it kind of sucks trying to pull these things off after that double-sided 3M tape adheres. It's not fun. So I would recommend that before you put them on like I have, just do everything else. You know, check the wiring, you know, make sure everything that they turn on, and then put them on. So, little suggestion there. And also, if you don't have any of these, like I already have them on here because of this brake light from Custom Dynamics. I'm sure you could buy these at Amazon somewhere. It just kind of helps out. Some people drill a hole in their saddlebag and run the wires on the inside, but I don't see a point in doing that. It's just kind of, I think it'll get in the way of your stuff inside of your saddlebag, but whatever. So this looks really confusing, I'm sure, but in a nutshell, this plug here goes to your brake lights and everything. Okay, so you want to plug it in here and then into what was plugged in there before. If you didn't have anything plugged in there before, or just if you hadn't done all this wiring like I did with all these extra lights, this will probably be right here. It would probably plug into this part right there. That goes from the computer. So but anyway, so I'm going to take this harness that I prepared already with those extra wires, and I'm going to plug it in, daisy chain it into that system there, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I got it plugged in right here. That's that new harness with all the little unused posit taps, whatever, and then I have my new wires plugged in. The brown wire, which is, this one's connected to the brown wire. This is the right side, okay? And the purple wire, this one will go over there. So I'm gonna mess with the brown wire. So essentially what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this length. I'm gonna feed it through down there underneath, attach this to that wire, which will then plug into the wire that goes to the saddlebag, if you remember. So I'm going to do all that now and then come back. All right, so I've got the wires coming off of the harness. They go down through there and here, and they're connected to this section of my quick adapter. Quick release, and then that's connected to the plasma rod lighting that we did earlier. And basically I'm just going to stuff this back up in here because it's kind of long, and then I'll leave that hanging out like that. And this, I got a little bit of extra wire. I'll just kind of tuck it in there somehow before I put the side panel back on. Now, one thing I mentioned earlier about it, connecting the harness, don't do that yet. Wait until after you get all your stuff connected. You don't want any shorts or anything, especially if you don't have the battery unplugged, which you're supposed to do. But yeah, don't plug this into anything until you have your wires all spliced and connected, and then plug this in and test it. That's pretty much it. So I'm gonna put all these wires back in there, a lot of fun, and then get the seat back on and call it a day. I'm pretty tired. Just love this bike. All right, you guys, have a good one. Put any questions you have in the comments. I answer every one of them. And like I said, I'll put links to the stuff that I had to buy to complete this project. So you guys have a good one.